Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you are joining. Thank you so much for visiting today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrances. So in today's video, I am going to be talking about the two newest releases from Atelier Des Ors, and they are from the Memory Lane collection, which is the newest collection from the brand. And let me tell you, the bottles are absolutely spectacular, but I'm sure you care more about what the fragrances actually smell like. So if this is your type of thing, then please keep on watching. But before we get started on the content, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. Of course, that is if you do not already. I would love to have you as part of this amazing fragrance community. So now that's out of the way, let's jump in to the review. So these are the two newest fragrances. We have Blue Madeleine and then we have Villa Primrose. I'm going to start off with Blue Madeleine. Based off the notes alone, this was the one I was the most excited to try, just because Atelier Des Ors doesn't have anything like this in their collection, and when I read you the notes of this fragrance, you will understand why I was drawn to the notes. That is, if you watch my channel at the very least. This is a musky, kind of fresh, tea-based fragrance with some sweetness. So first up, let me read you the notes. So this is described as being like a souvenir of a gourmand Madeleine, spiced up with smoky tea notes and a drop of spices. Top notes include bergamot, pink pepper and cinnamon. Heart notes include rose, black tea and milky notes. And the base notes are Peru balsam, praline and sandalwood. Does that not sound absolutely delightful? Now, I have worn this for 2 days. Please bear in mind these are still first impressions. I think you need to wear a fragrance multiple times to really get a feel for it, but I have worn this 2 days in a row. I'm actually wearing Villa Primrose today, but I wanted to test this 2 days in a row, and there is a reason for that, which I will explain in a minute. But let me spray this on a paper test strip first so I can give you my first impressions based off paper, but I also know how this pulls on my skin. I adore the opening of this fragrance. So what I'm getting is a very milky tea with spices, almost like a chai tea, but more fresh, and I'm definitely getting the bergamot. I get the cinnamon, I get the milky notes, and I get the tea. I also get a musky vibe from this. Musk isn't listed, but it pulls quite musky on me, on my skin, but also spraying it on the paper too. I don't necessarily get praline. I do get a sweetness, but it's not praline specifically. It's like a sweet spiced tea, as I've mentioned. I'm not necessarily getting rose either. There's a slight hint of florals, but that could be just coming from the essence of the tea, because often tea includes florals as an ingredient. But the opening is just the most gorgeous, fresh, comforting, spiced, milky tea, almost like chai. Oh, I just absolutely adore this one. Now, it does smell really similar to this on my skin too. However, I do get a lot more of the tea on my skin. One thing I do want to mention about Blue Madeleine is this is a little bit of a skin scent on me. You definitely pick it up wafting in the air. It does have a nice sillage, but it is a lighter scent profile and it's very close to the skin. Now, for the first hour, I can definitely smell it on my skin from a distance, but after that point, it becomes more of a skin scent. Now, that doesn't bother me. I absolutely love a skin scent, but I thought I should let you know that. Now, your experience might be different with this fragrance, but that is just my experience. Now, when I wore this yesterday, I did a heavy spray across my clothing, and as I was moving throughout the day, I was definitely getting a really nice scent bubble, and this lasts a lot longer on my clothing than on my skin. Now, I could smell this 8 hours later, but as I mentioned, it is more of a skin scent, so I had to get my nose really up close to my skin to be able to detect the fragrance. Now, I feel like that's important to know what you're getting into, because I feel like the notes maybe wouldn't suggest that this is going to be a lighter or softer type of fragrance, but it is. That does not stop me loving this. I absolutely adore the scent profile. I think the scent profile is perfection. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. However, I do wish it was a little bit stronger. I would like to be able to smell it from a distance, and I would prefer that it wasn't a skin scent. However, skin scents do have a time and a place, and for that reason, I'm not super mad about it, but I do wish that it was a little bit stronger. But as this dries down, I would say it doesn't change too much. It is almost a little bit of a linear scent. It remains to be a spiced, milky tea with a little bit of sweetness in the base. It doesn't change too much from the opening to the base, in my opinion, at the very least. And I think this is a really great fragrance. I would recommend getting a sample of this one if you are worried a little bit about the longevity or the strength of it, but it really is a beautiful fragrance. There is nothing like this in the Atelier Des Ors collection, and I don't have anything quite the same as this in my collection. I do have fragrances that are kind of milky tea vibes with spices, but none of them smell exactly like Blue Madeleine. So I think this is a really good release. Absolutely. I think the bottle is gorgeous, but I do wish it was a little bit stronger. So let's move on to Villa Primrose. So next up is Villa Primrose, and I feel like this one might be the more popular out of the two, but that is yet to be seen. One thing I do want to mention again, that these reviews are just my first impressions. These aren't in-depth reviews. I need more time with the fragrances. I have worn both of them, but yeah, just bear in mind that these are my first impressions only. So Villa Primrose is a rose and leather dominant fragrance. There are other notes, but those are the two most prominent notes to me. I'm going to quickly read you the notes like I did with Blue Madeleine. So the description of this one is a petal centifolia rose, just picked, contrasted with the racy character of leather and the vibrancy of pink pepper. I feel like that sums this one up really well. Top notes include cardamom, pear, pink pepper. Heart notes include centifolia rose, ambrette, and iris. And base notes are leather, amberwoods, and musk. Now, Villa Primrose is stronger than Blue Madeleine. This one packs a little bit more of a punch. You can definitely smell it all day, and I don't have to get my nose right up close. It's not a skin scent at all. It's definitely stronger. It is a more traditional scent profile. It's not necessarily incredibly unique, as in I've not smelled this kind of scent profile before, but it does have a little twist to it where I can't pinpoint it smelling exactly like something else in my collection. Now, the opening, I don't really get much of the leather. Let me just spray this one quickly. Yeah, that's a cleaner test strip, just checking. So the opening, I'm not detecting any of that leather. What I am getting is the pear. I definitely get the pear, and it's really, really juicy in the opening. And straight away, I'm also getting the ambrette and the iris, along with a really delicate pink rose. I don't really get the cardamom, to be honest, in the opening, and I get a little bit of spiciness from the pepper, but I feel like the pepper comes through a little bit more after an hour or so. So yeah, this will take a while to dry down on the paper. I'm not getting the leather at the moment, but as I've said, I've worn this one. As the top notes start to dry down a little bit, that is when the pink pepper and the leather starts to come through. And I would say after about 1 to 2 hours, the leather becomes quite prominent. It smells a little bit more like suede, very luxurious, and then you are left with more of a rose leather dominant fragrance with a sprinkling of pink pepper. So if you're a fan of rose and leather, this is one that I would definitely recommend trying. Once that juicy pear starts to dissipate, this is when it starts to smell a little bit more traditional, in my opinion. I do still get a little bit of that ambrette and the iris, which kind of gives it a soft, almost powdery feel. but the rose and the leather stand out the most to me. Now, this is a very sexy fragrance in my opinion. I feel like this one is totally unisex, as is Blue Madeleine too. This doesn't lean too sweet. The opening is sweeter than the dry down, or I should say the opening is sweet for about an hour and then it starts to develop a little bit more. But I would say in terms of strength, this one is way stronger than Blue Madeleine. This one definitely projects, it stands out on the skin. I can smell it right now as I'm moving my hands around. As I've mentioned, it's my scent of the day. And I feel like this one might be more popular, as I've already mentioned, just because it has a little bit more of a mass appeal with the scent profile. But my preference is actually Blue Madeleine. I absolutely love the scent profile. Whilst I like Villa Primrose, I don't necessarily gravitate towards rose leather fragrances as much. And I feel like Blue Madeleine is just a little bit more unique. That is my personal opinion. But I still think this is a really great fragrance. It's just one that I wouldn't reach for as much as Blue Madeleine. This one I did not need to overspray, whereas Blue Madeleine I did. So there is that. Let me just quickly put the lid on and then I will grab Blue Madeleine and compare side by side. So as I've already mentioned, my preference leans towards Blue Madeleine. This is exactly the type of scent profile that I adore. This would make a great everyday signature scent. Very easy to wear, cozy and comforting, and I just really love this one. So out of the two, this would be my top recommendation. However, as I mentioned, I think Villa Primrose might be a little bit more popular. I think it will please people a little bit more than Blue Madeleine. Just my initial thoughts on it. But I also know a lot of my subscribers love the same types of scent profiles as I do, so you might lean more towards Blue Madeleine. But I do feel like this is a great new collection from the brand. I'm very excited that they released these two fragrances. They had gaps in their collection for both of them, and I don't know where they would rank within the lineup. I still absolutely adore Lune Feline. I absolutely adore Rouge Soleil, but I think Blue Madeleine would definitely be in my top 3 from the brand. So please do let me know if you want more in-depth reviews of these in the future when I've worn them a little bit more. But I hope this was helpful in some way, at least in terms of my first impressions and how they perform on me. But let me know what you think about this new collection. Are you interested in smelling either of them? Will you be picking up samples or bottles of these? Please do let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you so much and goodbye.